Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Mark Schultz and Scott McCloud.
Welcome to the Comic Book Show, the biggest TV show about comics. Your central authority for Batman, Bodacious Babes, and Bongo Comics. They wanted me to change that part. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tony.
And I'm Nikki.
And this is show number 10. Let's take a look at today's super movie. A super movie is a movie about superheroes or heroic exploits. Today's movie, Addams Family Values. Well, technically this movie isn't really about superheroes, but it is about a creepy family, and it's based after the television series. I'm getting really sick of these movies based after television series. Isn't there anybody out there with some more ideas? I mean, I got better ideas than this. I'm sorry, Raul Julia, I'm a big fan of his, but his imitation of Gomez, that's what it is. It's an imitation of John Astin, who is a genius, and it just doesn't match up.
Personally, I did not like Addams Family Values. It was really poor in comparison to the first Addams Family movie. It just seemed like they took all the leftovers and decided to, mesh them all together just to say that they had a second Addams Family movie.
Yeah, and when you watch this movie, you'll notice that, look at the house. It's empty. What happened to all the junk? What happened to the stuffed bear and the fish with the foot hanging out and the plants and all the junk that were in the background in the original TV series? These guys spend millions of dollars on movies. Can't they even get some props? Well, let's rate this movie on the Mighty Meter. The Mighty Meter rates movies from 1 to 5. 5 being mighty good and 1 being mighty lousy. I'm going to give Addams Family Value, I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm going to give it a 1.
This week in comics, I'm going to recommend Animal Man. Yes, Animal Man is under the title of Vertigo, which is an imprint of DC Comics. It's for the more mature readers. It's a pretty good book. I think it sort of reached its peak right before they went to Vertigo. They changed creative teams, and now it's not quite as good, but it's an interesting book about, it talks about environmental disasters, and it's an interesting book. I'd read it.
Animal Man. Anyway, a good book that I think you should read.
That's it?
Showcase 94 from DC Comics. Of course, this book has been phenomenal since it debuted as Showcase 93 last year. They feature a Batman character every month, normally a supporting character, which makes for some very interesting stories. And you definitely have to check out the latest one they did with Nightwing. It's one of the best Nightwing stories to date.
Showcase is pretty good. It's a good comic to read if you're really not into the DC universe, because it has 3 or 4 different stories with different characters, and if you don't like one, you'll probably like one of the others. I also want to recommend this week Justice League Task Force number 8, which came out. It's a pretty good book. I wouldn't call this the best DC has to offer, but it is improvement on the Justice League, and if you're a fan of the Justice League and you're sick of what they've been doing and it's gotten too funny and you want a little more seriousness in the team book, check it out.
The only issue of JL Task Force that I actually read or paid any attention to was
too busy reading
issue number 5, which crossed over with Night Quest. So I can't say much for that book, but you should check out Eclipso, also from DC Comics. Though the art is some of the worst that comic book readers could possibly stumble across, the storylines are very, very interesting. They just got done tying up a really big one in which Eclipso was playing this big chess game with Darkseid. They got a little bit into Darkseid's origin and totally revealed Desaad's origin from beginning to end. It was really sharp.
Yeah, Eclipso. Change it or kill me, Beavis. Eclipso stinks. I can't stand Eclipso. It's just an excuse to have the DC writers go ahead in the DC universe and kill all these people. Superman never stops Eclipso. They bring all these heroes against him. He kills all these normal people. Why doesn't he ever kill one of the superheroes? That's what I want to know. Don't waste your time. In case you missed it, I want to recommend the Valiant Vision Starter Kit. Yes, if you haven't seen the Valiant Vision and the Valiant Vision glasses, you really ought to pick them up. Why?
Guys, this turns a regular Valiant comic into a 3D comic. All you got to do is look for the Valiant seal on it. It says, presented in Valiant Vision, and the book was specially designed to be in 3 dimensions. It's a miraculous process. I love it.
Yeah, the thing that I found interesting about it was you didn't need the glasses to read the book.
That's exactly right, and that's what I always hated about 3D before, because it was always blurry and fuzzy, and you know you're going to misplace the glasses one day, right? But you can still read this comic. It looks like any other Valiant comic until you slap the glasses on, and then it becomes a whole new trip.
Those 3D glasses work on any comic. Any comic with red and blue, the red will jump out, and the blue will go back. Even if you look at the wonderful comic book set, you will see reds and things will happen. It's wonderful.
The whole Valiant Vision kit is a really great idea. I think it's one of the coolest things, one of the best gimmicks. It's not even a gimmick. It's great to be introduced into the comic book industry compared to like foil covers and junk like that. In case you missed it, also try to hunt down the Batman Adventures trade paperback. Of course, these are the comic books from DC based on the Batman animated series. Despite the fact that the cover to the trade paperback is gorgeous, features a gallery of every Batman character imaginable. It features some of the best issues, some of the earliest issues, and if you've seen the episodes, don't think that that means you can't read the issues, because sometimes they do things a little bit differently, sometimes they do it a lot differently. We talked to some independent and small press companies and asked them, what's it really like to publish your own comic book?
When you say independence, this is for some of the civilians out there. Why don't you explain to the folks what an independent publisher, the term, what's it mean?
Okay. Well, traditionally, the comic book industry was ruled by 2 giants, Marvel Comics and DC National Comics, who made a fortune over 5 decades of publishing, selling comic books on the newsstand venues, meaning drugstores, newsstands, grocery stores, everywhere else. When the independent market, comic book shops, specialty shops, opened in 1982, new publishers came into the breach, one of which was AC Comics. We were one of the first 4 initial independents. We're still around.
The comics, like any industry, benefits from competition. One of the disadvantages Marvel has had over the last few years is that they've had no significant challenge to their position as number 1.
You can work with another publisher. Just be very careful in searching out that publisher. Have some business sense, or have somebody who you trust watch out the business for you. If you want to self-publish, the first thing I'd recommend is to have your head examined.
Especially now.
It's a very, very, very competitive market out there. There used to be, 30 or 40 comics every month. Now there's literally between 500 and 1,000 comic books coming out every single month. It's a jungle.
I think the market is very tight right now for independent publishers. It's really broken into Marvel, DC, Image, and we on a sort of a top echelon, and then Dark Horse and Malibu and the next echelon, and then it's sort of everybody else.
And I think this is probably the worst time in the history of comics to be a new publisher. It's got to be tough with all the product that's out there on the market and sort of the upcoming bust of the speculation market.
For a creator-owned company, we operate completely differently than any other publisher that, in Marvel or DC. We make all the decisions in-house. We don't have any stockholders to report to, or as well as, when it comes to any decisions that we want to do with our characters, it's something we can go ahead and decide on and make right away. Actually, the creator-owner has the right to do that.
Especially when I first started, there was very little financial reward. But the headaches in publishing just weren't that big either. I had to come out with a book when I said I would, and, I had to make sure the book got printed, and I had to make sure it got shipped to the stores.
Get a good lawyer, get a good art and entertainment lawyer. There's so much talk about, creator-owned comics these days. Most comics, even in the independents, are creator-owned. It's a scam. They say, well, you'll get to keep your copyright. Right, and then they walk off with your trademark and you just lost your book.
The financial backing. Someone who's willing to support you and give you a little bit of time to get your name out and do what you say you can do and not cut your ankles out from under you.
Only start in the business if you have to do it. I mean, and what I mean by that is you have to crave it. You have to just love it. You have to want it in your bones, and that's the only reason you should be in it.
Consistency makes a difference. Do not give up. You know, it takes time, it takes a lot of learning, it takes some trial and error, but that would be what I would say. Consistency, stick with it.
You can do a creator-owned book. You know, that's great. Do the best you can, but keep your promises.
I would say follow your own vision. Don't imitate. Really feed your head, you know. Look around. Don't just look at comics. Read books. Read novels. Go to museums. Check out paintings, Renaissance paintings, you know. Check out Titian. Definitely. That's what you got to do.
I don't really have any special advice because it's just a matter of patience, and everybody that I know that got into the industry never really intended to get into the industry. They kind of lucked into it. So I guess luck is the factor when it comes to the comic book industry.
Have you called Bill Cole Enterprises yet? Have you? You have not? Well, you better call them because they make Mylar Snugs and comic book preservation supplies. Bill Cole Enterprises. These are the same people that supply the Library of Congress and the National Archives. They don't mess around. They keep the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence fresh. Think of what they could do for your comic books. And not just Mylar Snugs. No, no. Acid-free backing boards, boxes, Mylars for every age of comic book. Everything is color-coded, so you don't get confused. Blue for Silver and Golden Age, black for current comics, and even purple for magazines. And now they have Mylar Snugs for ash cans. Will you listen to me? Ash cans! Bill Cole Enterprises, available at your local comic book store, or send away for their free catalog of preservation supplies. It's free. You just have to write them a letter. Bill Cole Enterprises, P.O. Box 60, Department CD, Randolph, Massachusetts, 023680060. Or to place an order, call 617-986-2653. Bill Cole Enterprises. Ask for them. Ask for them. By name.
DC. Incredible. Action. Astonishing. Adventure. The coolest heroes. The hottest heroines. And the most outrageous villains. Food for TV. In the universe.
He thinks your daddy's comic books, fanboy.
DC Comics.
Available at Marvel Comics in Princeton and New Brunswick.
Now we're back to the comic book show.
This week in industry news, fans of the ever-popular Street Fighter II video game may be upset to discover that due to complications, Capcom, the makers of Street Fighter II, are canceling their deal with Malibu for the Street Fighter II comic book. The video game-based comic book got up to a whole whopping 3 issues, with issue number 3 featuring Malibu's own Barrett. AC Comics FemForce is getting geared up for their big 75th issue. To celebrate this, yet another special comic book promotion has been born. AC will offer the commemorative gold FemForce coin. This gold-toned coin will feature the FemForce logo on one side and AC's own Miss Victory from FemForce, of course, on the other. Coupons for the coin will be available in copies of FemForce number 74. And heads up, Swamp Thing fans, because Swamp Thing number 140 is really the new Swamp Thing number 1. With the help of Grant Morrison, Swamp Thing's new creative team will be making the biggest changes ever to old Swamp Thing. To tell you exactly how big these changes are, it goes something along the lines of Swamp Thing's entire existence and all previous storylines are nothing but one big bad dream. So stay tuned because Swamp Thing number 140 will be hitting your shelves sometime in January.
In Tube Watch news, Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy is being readied for the big screen. Jean-Jacques Annaud, a French guy behind the movie Quest for Fire, has signed to do the movie. The Foundation books were published between 1950 and 1953 and won the Hugo Award for Best All-Time Science Fiction Series. Spider-Man and Batman may meet in the summer of '95. Yes, the upcoming Batman 3 and the James Cameron Spider-Man movie may hit the screens at the same time. Stan Lee, the co-creator of Spider-Man, says he's read the 50-page treatment of Spider-Man and says, quote, "I feel sorry for Batman 3. I firmly believe Spider-Man will be the biggest movie of all time until the sequel." Unquote. Yeah. Stanley Kubrick, director of such classics as A Clockwork Orange and 2001: A Space Odyssey, is working on a new science fiction movie called AI, which stands for Artificial Intelligence. The story centers around robotic intelligence and takes place in a post-apocalyptic Jersey Shore. Finally, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, have been renewed for a second season, with 22 new episodes to be produced next year. Lois and Clark recently beat seaQuest DSV in the ratings, placing them just under Murder, She Wrote.
Tony was given the opportunity to chat with Mark Schultz, the man behind Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, is the report.
Okay, we're here at the kitchen sink booth again, this time with Mark Schultz, the man behind Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Mark, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the original Cadillacs and Dinosaurs when it first came out in comic book form?
Okay. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs originally appeared, and still does appear, as a black and white comic book called Xenozoic Tales from Kitchen Sink Press.
Why was there a name change?
Because Xenozoic Tales is hard for people to remember. It's not a commonly used word. It's a manufactured word. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs has a lot more recognition, a lot more. People remember it much easier. It's catchy. It's got a catch to it. It's got a, people pick up on it and they remember it.
And what's the basic philosophy behind the comic about, what year does it take place?
It takes place in the 26th century, about 650 years from now. In a world that's been radically changed from ours, I hypothesize a environmental catastrophe in the early years of the next century, the 21st century, that completely drives what's left of mankind underground. And they live underground in these super shelters for approximately 550 years, come back to the surface, and discover the world has been rearranged. There are now all sorts of prehistoric beasts and prehistoric landscapes have returned into this weird eclectic meld of different times. And mankind is, the most important element of the stories is that mankind is no longer top dog in this world. He's just another link in the food chain. And he's got to learn to survive under these situations with what limited technology is left to him.
And I understand there's a role-playing game based on this comic. What was that like?
Well, I am not a role-playing gamer. I don't know how they're played. Is
the game still for sale?
Yeah, GDW is coming out. As a matter of fact, GDW is coming out with a new edition, I believe, an updated edition, in conjunction with the show and the toys being released.
Were there many changes between the comic book and the actual cartoon?
Well, there were changes, but most of them I'd say were surface changes. I was very pleased to see that the animators, the scriptwriters and the animators kept the core concepts intact. It's still very environmentally concerned and very much, I think, an intelligent show because the characters tend to solve problems by thinking as much by punching. Well, the toys, of course, will be coming out in January of next year.
Are they going to be like things that, shoot things, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's going to be a variety of things. It centers around action figures and especially the Cadillac. They do a 53 Cadillac with all the little science fiction doodads attached to it, and it looks magnificent. The dinosaurs look good too, and the action figures look very, very well defined also.
Well, thanks for talking with us, Mark.
Tony interviewed Scott McCloud, the man behind Understanding Comics, and here's what he had to say.
Okay, we're here at the kitchen sink booth with Scott McCloud, the author, writer, artist for Understanding Comics. Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about the book?
Sure. Understanding Comics is a book that I wrote over the last couple of years that was based on about 7 years of research into how comics work. And it's not so much a how-to book, it's a lot about what happens sort of in between the panels, like as I used to say. It's about the way our mind processes the information that comes off that comics page. A lot of people have said it's not so much how to make comics, as it's how to read comics. It's been a long day, sorry.
That's okay. In the books, it says, witness a history over 3,000 years old. What was the comic you found that was 3,000 years old?
Well, actually, the oldest comic I found so far, and I'm pretty sure it's probably older than that, is an Egyptian wall painting from 2000 BC, which features a whole series of events done. It's sort of zigzag pattern. It's not a traditional comics form, but it shows events in sequence using pictures to tell a story just exactly the way we do now, just like the latest issue of Batman, one picture after another with words to tell a story. And I think that's the essence of comics, and you can find that not only 3,000 years ago, but 2,000 and 1,000 and the last 500 years all through European broadsheets. Comics has been with us all along. It isn't just a 20th century invention.
So the Yellow Kid's really not the first?
No, not the first, although it's the first of the modern newspaper comics, which started a whole different age of comics. But no, not the first at all.
Did you consult any experts while doing the book?
I talked to a lot of people, people like Will Eisner, and I read up on some things like Marshall McLuhan and Tony Schwartz, media criticism people and whatnot, and some art theory, people like Vasily Kandinsky. Mostly, 90% of it is just direct observation. It's just, I read a hell of a lot of comics, thousands of pages over the years, and I began to wonder why I reacted in certain ways to certain art styles, certain writing styles, why one picture after another could produce certain effects.
And if somebody were interested in getting a copy of Understanding Comics, where could they get that?
Well, Kitchen Sink has them for sale here at the convention, and they're available all around the country now in comic book stores, selling like hotcakes, about 160 a day, I'm happy to say, and soon may very well be available in bookstores nationwide. As far as promotion goes, I found that I've been spending more and more time just promoting Understanding Comics and talking to people and trying to get it into as many hands as possible. As long as that works, I'd like to continue, because I want people to get the message that comics aren't just about superheroes, they aren't just for kids, they're for everybody, and anything is possible in comics.
Thanks for talking with us, Scott.
My pleasure.
A beautiful quote. Comics are for everyone, a cool medium, and I definitely am glad that I got a copy of this. You should get a copy of it, too. We'll be right back.
For the best selection in mainstream and independent comics, visit the Comic Collection on Bustleton Avenue and Street Road in Feasterville. We have the largest backstock variety in the area, reliable subscription service, used and new compact discs, and a full range of comic-related merchandise. Our courteous staff is available to answer all of your questions. Mention this comic book show ad, and first-time customers receive a free issue of Legends of the Dark Knight. That's the Comic Collection in Feasterville for the serious comic book collector.
Blazer Studios is proud to offer the limited edition New World Order ash can, New World Order number 1, and a certificate of authenticity signed by creator Daniel Reed. To order, send $10 check or money order to All America, 331 North Broad Street, Philadelphia, PA 19107. Order before they're gone. Order a signed copy of Zen Intergalactic Ninja number 0. This best-selling black and white comic is signed by Zen's creator, Steve Stern. Send $14.95 check or money order to All America, 331 North Broad Street, Philadelphia, PA 19107. This is a limited offer. This is Todd. For thousands of Americans, being homeless and forgotten is a daily nightmare. But for Todd, the nightmare is even worse because Todd is a superhero. Yes, even with superhuman reflexes and the ability to see through walls, many of America's finest superheroes cannot afford the basic hero needs like spandex, weapons, an underground headquarters, or even a secret identity. But with your tax-deductible donations, you can help. Send your donations to Save the Superheroes, P.O. Box 10035, Philadelphia, PA 19108. And please, help.
In my hand is today's lucky letter. Dear TCBS, I have been hearing rumors of a Spawn cartoon coming out in a short time. Is this just a rumor? If not, when will it be out? Signed, Michael Acree, age 13. Well, Michael, why ask us? Let's ask the man himself. Todd McFarlane, Here's a clip from his interview.
On the animation, and we're just looking for specials right now, not like a weekly or something. I just don't think that it lends itself to being that and the kind of animation that I want. Plus, the character's a little bit dark and gritty. I mean, it would never go on. We're talking with, the cable stations that you can get away with a little bit of a darker edge on it, where I don't think it lends itself to Saturday morning cartoon. The live action is the stuff that would give it the dark, gritty edge.
So, as you can see, I don't really see a regular Spawn series coming out. Maybe a Spawn animated movie or special or something like that around Halloween. What's he win?
Michael wins a signed copy of Rye in the Future Force number 9, signed by Sean Chen and Catherine Bollinger.
Cool. Where can we write to get more free stuff, Nikki?
No, I don't know the address.
Well, I do. It's TCBS Letters, P.O. Box 10035, Philadelphia, PA 19108. Please include your name, your address, your age, and the kind of stuff you want.
Order Flatline Comics' next hot titles today. Flatbush Native, Invictus, and their newest title, Flatline Comics Presents. Get their number 1 issues before they're gone. Write Flatline Comics, P.O. Box 26264, Washington, D.C. 20001, or call 202-973-2131. Flatline Comics. For the best selection in mainstream and independent comics, visit the Comic Collection on Bustleton Avenue and Street Road in Feasterville. We have the largest backstock variety in the area, reliable subscription service, used and new compact discs, and a full range of comic-related merchandise. Our courteous staff is available to answer all of your questions. Mention this comic book show ad and first-time customers receive a free issue of Legends of the Dark Knight. That's the Comic Collection in Feasterville for the serious comic book collector.
Now it's time for Celebrity Corner. We're here with Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn, what kind of comics did you used to buy when you were a kid, and what kind of comics do you collect?
Well, actually, I didn't.
Who would be like your favorite superhero?
Oh, Fantastic Man I like. Fantastic. And I like the Maniacs and Dark Shadows and, I don't know.
And who are they published by?
I don't know anything about comics. I only know everything about me.
Ah.
Of course, I have a new card coming out.
And who's putting out the new card?
Sports Time.
Ah, you knew that.
Yeah, which is the parent company to Revolutionary Comics, who you might have heard about.
And that's it this week for the Comic Book Show. Tune in next week. We're going to have... What are we having?
Well, we're going to be reviewing Botsmaster.
And we're going to have some more interviews and all kinds of stuff. Usual news and, we're just getting better and better at this. Every week, the show just gets better and better. I love it. See you next week.
Bye.
Bill Cole Enterprises is the exclusive supplier of comic book preservation supplies to the Comic Book Show. Ask for their products by name. And remember, when you go to your local comic store, say you saw it on the Comic Book Show.